Shigeru Miyamoto tricked me once when I conquered his first quaint but now antiquated miniature garden and wound up in a funhouse for the criminally insane. He tricked me again when he rotated the sequel 90 degrees and made me confront the deep, dark magnitude of my capacity for violence. So pardon me for being on high alert regarding his treachery when I played the franchise's third installment, A Link to the Past. Further pardon me when this game, riding on the successes of the previous Zelda titles, garnered ample development time and ample budget and, God forbid, released on a more powerful system. Pardon me for thinking surely such unlimited power would only fuel Miyamoto's lust for perpetually, and personally, punishing me beyond reprieve. So just how far down the well of insanity did he toss me with A Link to the Past? Everything starts off peachy as I'm soundly asleep in my little bed, when lo! A voice from a dream. I have pink hair. My uncle leaves, get the thing, and as a young rapscallion, I deny his instruction and head out into a brutal storm. What a start! The music, the rain, the lightning, a familiar jingle. Uncle's dead, Zelda's my sister? Don't care, take his wares, and within 1 minute of starting the game, I am in what basically amounts to a dungeon, learning how to play. I'm in the castle, out of the castle, in its great chambers, in its subterranean spaces. I get the thing. Save Zelda, discover royal passageways. I'm in the light, I'm in the dark, traipsing through sewers, given hints of secrets to come. Finally, I meet the elder in the chapel, learn of the wizard and the seven maidens, grab my reward, and woof! Shigeru, let me light a cigarette. I've just experienced so much atmosphere, intrigue. I've unwittingly been led through a master class of level design. And it doesn't end there. When I'm finally greeted with that familiar song, the lush green world leads me to Kakariko. I explore the town, get bombs, find a bottle, a bug-catching net, get so much money, find the kid who points me to this game's version of the old man from Zelda 1. I'm off to the east and so much is happening. I meet Sahasrahla, learn of his connection to the past, learn of the 3 pendants and the sword of evil's bane. My quest is clear and the Eastern Palace is my destination. Upon entering, my expectations are immediately set. I'm going to have to understand the broader connection between and across rooms. Not just where paths lead, but how they lead there, and spatially orient myself volumetrically, even though the space is 2D. This knowledge will prove invaluable later throughout my playthrough. Anyway, I dodge some balls, get instantly teased, find the old map and compass, find the thing which in a new twist lets me get the thing. I beat the first boss, I'm new boot goofing, and though it's clear on my map where to go next, I'm really impressed with the game's first half hour. But the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. I'm off to Pendant 2 and I just find an ice rod? Learn to read, make a wish, enter the desert palace, get the thing, fight triplet mold, get the second pendant, make my way up Zora River, flippers, find out upgrading weapons is a thing, escort a different old man through the mountains, get his magic mirror, find a really weird something or other, turn into a rabbit, get rewarded with a heart piece by understanding the lay of the land, and finally enter Hera's Tower. Here I hit crystal switches, star switches, I get the thing to get the thing, realize this is where Shigeru is trying to bait me with bullshit, but I maneuver so expertly. Pendant 3 is mine almost instantly. From here I make my way to the Lost Woods, get clowned on by Miyamoto, get robbed, then finally splitting the majestic procession of woodland creatures, pull the Master Sword, part the clouds, get psychedelic, have a good trip, have a bad trip. Oh my god, he's dead! Return to the castle, watch Aghanim send Zelda to the gap between dimensions. Beat the wizard's teeth in, and here, Miyamoto blows my mind. I finally comprehend the true psychedelic powers of that mushroom by warping to the top of a pyramid in a second world. The Dark World. What? I toss a skull into a rock ring and get a medallion from a talking fish. I talk to a bush. And eventually, I find a monkey to open the entrance to the Palace of Darkness. At this point, I'm wondering if Miyamoto is using my arrival in the Dark World as a metaphor for his erosion of my sanity. Things are so bizarre here, and I question none of it. Have I, the proverbial youth, been given the old man Shigeru himself's magic mirror to find the glass shattered? To gaze upon myself in a funhouse mirror of broken clones? To stare into the abyss of splintered remnants of my own lucidity? So anyway, labeled level 1, but actually level 6, the Palace of Darkness is where A Link to the Past truly begins to shine. Branching paths, I warp, I talk to Zelda, I consult the map often. Again, I need to not only understand how things relate in one plane, but in many. I find the thing to get the thing, hidden wall, bash this boy to pieces, and save my first maiden. The Dark World, I come to find, is brutal. I hear Miyamoto laughing maniacally in the distance. But I find other points of entry, unlock nuclear power, learn that navigation and exploration is not just meant for one world, but one is affected by the other. And find myself at level 2, which is actually level 7, the Swamp Palace. Navigating through the Swamp Palace is much like entering it. Rerouting water to reach inaccessible areas eventually gets me the thing to get the thing. I'm zipping around. I stumble upon an incredible moment of spatial understanding. I partake in a swift execution, second maiden, and I'm off. I take a moment to investigate conspicuous spots which lead to heart pieces, a shovel, a flute, stumble upon fast travel, and make my way to a literal hellscape. Jesus! From here, I fall into a familiar rhythm of exploration, discovery, and dungeon crawling. It becomes clear that just because dungeons are marked on your map, it doesn't mean you walk into them on a red carpet. And that figuring out how to get into a dungeon often takes an understanding of the game's mechanics that is more than just happening into the right screen by sheer chance. And it's worth it because the dungeons are a lot of fun to untangle. Skull Woods is a dungeon that takes place not just in the dungeon itself, but in the surrounding titular woods. A dizzyingly complex, and in my opinion better executed, predecessor to Echoes of Wisdom's Farron Temple, and which actually had me stumped for quite some time. I tried everything to enter Thieves' Town before ripping it open. This dungeon begins as a lattice work, an upper and lower level which hides potential pathways, before later becoming a twisted mix of moving platforms and bottomless caverns, and eventually a suspicious escort mission. The Ice Palace is a massive tower, frustratingly slippery. Would you just? Full of holes, exposed and otherwise, and vertical paths that loop back in on themselves. I find Misery Mire, level 6, which is actually level 11, and a name whose relevance I'm sure was not lost on Miyamoto after using lightning to clear a storm. Sorry, bad memories. Speaking of, Misery Mire, besides its combination of earlier A Link to the Past dungeon mechanics, catwalks, colored obstacles, etc., is very much the most obvious spiritual successor to Zelda 1's dungeons. Spikes, fire, shooting blocks, confined, hard-to-maneuver rooms, doors that don't open until all the enemies are defeated, these are all quintessential Zelda 1 dungeon design elements, cranked up beyond reason. And still Miyamoto tries to bullshit me. Using the power of a thunderous quake, I dissolve the head of a turtle. Enter level 7, which is actually level 12. I make my own platforms, pass through what I can only assume is the petrified intestinal system of this mountainous turtle, find myself all over the mountainside, and escape this nightmare. Having gotten all the things to get the things, sent the minions of Hyrule's pig oppressor to an early and earned grave, and rescued every maiden, I save Zelda, blow wide open the crack in the side of the Dark World's great ziggurat, string my bow with the silver arrows, Lionel's, and knock on the front door of that porcine abomination. It's also worth mentioning, interspersed in all this, I find a frog whom, along with his brother, forge me a stronger blade, find a bat who curses me with more magic, upgrade my weapon capacity, happen upon a cane, a magic cape, more heart pieces, and yes, I do the Bombos medallion thing. Finally, having reached level 8, which is actually level 13, I find something you don't see too often in Zelda games anymore. An absolutely massive final dungeon, one which takes everything you've learned and earned to conquer it. After refighting an old boss, I get the last thing to get the last thing. My color scheme is now this game's greatest abomination. I make my way through one last excruciating combat gauntlet, refight another boss. What am I even doing here? Hey, yo! Refight a third boss. My skills have markedly declined. Contemplate the absurdity of the universe before finally dispatching the goofball wizard. Ganon is canonically a pig and a bat. Dive into the cuckoo-shaped hole in the Pyramid of Power, TM. Deal with all the bullshit one might come to expect from a trident-twirling, time-bending, fire-conjuring pig demon hell-bent on casting the world into eternal shadow before spit-roasting him on my silver skewer of justice. Talk to the Triforce, yoink it, and return the land to its former glory. If you were to explain to someone all that transpires in A Link to the Past, they might assume you're trapped in a fever dream or suffering from a severe bout of psychosis. What's ironic is that most of the things that fans have come to know and love about the Zelda series, and even the Zelda formula itself, began with this game. Collect 3 things, pull the Master Sword, a story beat turns the world on its head, complete a bunch of dungeons, finding items that simultaneously recontextualize the respective dungeons and open up more of the overworld. That's A Link to the Past. Voluptuous fairies, and bottles, the appearance of the word Hylia, the Master Sword. Dungeons that need to be completed by leaving them. Zelda's Lullaby, the Ocarina, Heart Pieces, Chain Chomps, and Zelda. Talking to every NPC to figure something out. My least favorite Zelda trope, warping to an area to gain access to it. Energy tennis. All of these, and I'm sure many more you can think of, began with A Link to the Past. Ocarina of Time gets its fair share of credit, but it's not out of pocket to suggest that that game is a highly successful translation of A Link to the Past into 3D. And while the first 3 pendant dungeons and the 2 trips to Hyrule Castle are relatively easy, A Link to the Past manages to keep the intense combat focus of Zelda 1's dungeons, while also seriously upping the ante on the navigation and puzzle solving in dungeons. Something that would unquestionably become the staple of the series for many decades to follow. I also understand the critiques of its overworld, which may not be as pure as Zelda 1's, but I don't think it's worse, it's just different. For one, it's way more detailed and full of way more secrets. Heck, you get medallions, canes, and capes, ice rods from exploring the overworld. Plus, there are 2 of them, and part of the mystery is in figuring out how they relate. And yes, dungeons are marked on the map, but this is not a far cry from Zelda 1's manual, which shows the location of the first 4 dungeons, and literally tells you how to get to the first 2. In A Link to the Past, entering a dungeon is not as easy as simply knowing where it is. And even beyond all that, this game has such a sense of atmosphere. Every dungeon is unique, introducing new mechanics, combining them, and then putting them in the dark. A Link to the Past is just a lot of fun, full of great moments without sacrificing the challenge associated with its predecessors. It's easy to see why it's considered a great game and many Zelda fans' favorite. It holds up surprisingly well, and it's a game I greatly enjoyed replaying. Something I never expected to say after being psychologically tortured to within an inch of my life after the second quest and Zelda 2. You might be on to something here, Miyamoto. Or perhaps that's just the insanity talking.